my name is Lisa Shea, and in this video we're going to be talking about YouTube analytics and views and statistics, and this is part of a larger series. In this particular one I'm going to be talking about my Lisa Shea Artist channel, and this is a small-sized artist channel, as you can probably guess. And my purpose here is to help people who do how-to kinds of videos to get a sense of how to improve their analytics and how to explore their analytics and so on, because I know quite a lot of artists and authors and other how-to types of people who are trying to work on their YouTube channels. So this particular channel of mine has got about 57 subscribers and it's got about 115 videos, so it's a smallish to medium small sized channel. My cat is climbing all over everything and knocking everything over. Sorry about that. I don't know why it's not even cat feeding time. Alright, so you can in fact see the cat in most of my Lisa Shea Artist videos because the cat is usually climbing all over things and stuffing their little furry head into the videos. Alright, so this is the main page of the channel, and you can see the types of videos I've got in here. I've got how to paint, equipment reviews, letters, time-lapse videos. So, you know, the kinds of things that you tend to see on artist videos. Most of them are how-to, where someone watches from start to finish to see how to do something. And then some of them are more meditative kinds of videos that a person can watch for a little while to get a sense of how something works and then leave during that. All right, so we're going to take a look at the analytics. We're going to go up and click on the face and then go down into the YouTube Studio, which is where the analytics live. And once in here, I'm going to take a look first at the content list. So this shows us the videos that are in the system, and we will look at them by views. So again, just over 100 videos in here, and they have low to medium low, we'll say, numbers of views. So I'm sure some people will say, I dream about having 2,000 views, and then other people, like, you know, I have my origami channel that has 1 million views on a video. So there's a wide range of views that people are aiming for, and it's good to reach people at whatever stage they are currently at. So these views tend to be in the, you know, under 100 to a couple hundred range, with a couple over 1,000. And the videos in general are step-by-step how-to videos. So the way to see the analytics on a particular video that you have is to point at it in this content listing, and the second icon over that looks like a little bar graph is the analytics. So let's take a look at the analytics for this watercolor turtle. And I'm going to switch, oh, it actually says since lifetime. All right. So like I said, it's got about 2,600 views on it, and it's been fairly steady. Every once in a while I'll do a promotion for it on Twitter or Facebook or TikTok or something like that, and it'll get a spike, but then it'll go back to its medium length ground. You really never want to look at the average percentage viewed on any of your videos anywhere, because statistics skew wildly, and this doesn't really tell you what's happening. But it's more important to look at this graph here and see what is actually happening with the video. All right, so the deal with how-to videos in particular is that people are looking how to create a certain end result. And it could be that the picture that you show them in the beginning didn't quite show them what they needed to know about whether this was going to be the video for them. So this first 30 seconds or so, you're always going to have a drop-off as some people decide that this video isn't quite what they're looking for, or that they don't quite have enough time to go through this process, or all sorts of different things. Or maybe they thought it was going to be subtitled and it wasn't subtitled, or that it was going to be in Japanese and not English. There's all sorts of reasons that you always have a drop-off at the beginning if your video's more than 30 seconds long. And then at some point it settles down into the people who do realize that what they have is what they were looking for, and now watch it through to get a sense of how it goes. So now here we've got about 20%, 30% of the people who realize that this is the video that they want, that I'm speaking the language that they need, that they understand the way I speak, and all those other kinds of things. And now they're going to hunker in and watch the video. So you should generally see a sharp drop up at the beginning as people get a sense of whether this is or is not the video that they're looking for. And then you should get a reasonably steady progression after that, unless it gets longer and longer, in which case you're always going to have a drop-off because people have computer problems or other kinds of problems. If you look at my video on the Lisa Shea Work from Home, where I do hour-long interviews with authors and such, then they do have a drop-off because people just have problems. They have to go to dinner, they have to do other things. So that is going to happen the longer the video goes. But with the shorter videos, you should have a fairly consistent run after that initial decision point, whether they decide that this is what they're looking for or not. The way to have this have as little drop-off as possible, you're pretty much never going to have a zero drop-off, but the more clearly you can identify what kind of content you're providing by having a clear picture of what you're going to be doing, a clear text description, and then a clear write-up and description and keywords and all that kind of stuff. You'll do the best job of drawing in people who are actually going to appreciate your content, which is what you are generally aiming for. All right, so again, to summarize, we have a drop-off here. It goes to about 20%, which is about standard for these kinds of things. Especially when you're doing something artistic where they're looking for a specific kind of outcome, you're going to find a lot more drop-off because people are looking for, oh, that's these kinds of watercolors and I need to figure it out with tube watercolors, or I don't quite like those blues and greens. This other person has a better blue and green combination I like. So people are much more picky about what they are doing. Sorry, my cat's eating tape now, so I have to get her down. So people are much more picky in this kind of video situation versus if you take a look at some of my author interviews, people are just happy to sit back and listen to an author talk about their point of view, and it is less of a personal decision than whether they want to learn how to paint this specific kind of turtle. So similarly, let's go back here and look at how to do a cyanotype shirt. And we'll look at the analytics for this. And again, we'll look at for the lifetime of it. All right, so I get a spike when I do promotions for it, and otherwise it remains pretty steady. So again, there's a fall off at the beginning. You'll see that there's less of a fall off here than with the turtle, and that's because cyanotypes are a much more a non-variable, we'll say, kind of art form. With turtles, there's all sorts of styles about, do they have big shells or little shells? Is the blue darker blue or lighter blue? But cyanotypes, you're mixing with a pair of chemicals that are well defined. So cyanotypes are going to look like this. And people just want to know what the steps are for making, in this case, a cyanotype t-shirt. So hopefully the image shows that clearly, the text shows that clearly, and we still have a little bit of drop-off down to, let's say, 50% through here. But most people who see that image know what they're going to get, and they're going to be reasonably happy with what I'm showing them, unless, again, they're looking for a different language or if they need subtitles or other kinds of issues. So there's the normal drop-off, and then you get into the meat of it, and then it goes through, and there's always going to be bits of drop-off as people either decide, okay, I've figured out enough of the basics, I know where she's heading, or they get called away to do something else, and there's all sorts of reasons that people will then fade over time. But this is a pretty healthy map for something which is not a specific kind of art form. Well, I mean, cyanotypes are pretty specific, but not one that's very variable. If they went somewhere else looking for how to make a cyanotype t-shirt, it's going to be pretty much the same instructions. So they're not going to find something better in that sense. And they just need to know what the steps are about how to mix the liquids and how to get it to stick to the t-shirt and that sort of stuff. All right, so we'll go back. Letraset foil, let's see how this one did. And again, we'll do lifetime. All right, so this is an old device that you used to be able to print black toner on a laser printer, and then you'd use this heat device to run it over the black toner and would turn the black shiny gold. It was actually really cool. And I mean, it is still cool, but it's just a long and laborious process to sit here printing things out on a laser printer and then ironing them, in essence, with the gold foil to make them shiny. But people who are interested in how the Letraset works, the drop-off is very low at the beginning because people who want this information don't have a lot of choices, and they want to see how it works. So once people get here, they know what they're getting. They stay pretty strong, and then at some point they get a sense of how it works and they don't really need to stick around. But this thing is less than 2 minutes long, so you don't tend to have a whole lot of drop off. We get down to 33% by the end of the minute and 43, because by this point people know how the thing functions, and they've gotten the information that they need. And really, they've probably got the information that they needed back here, and the rest of this is just additional information to see it in more detail, to see exactly how it works. So you should always anticipate some drop off. You should be able to stay fairly high if you are showing information clearly that matches well what your title screen was about. And then you should be able to hold them as long as you keep providing them unique information. And especially with people who watch things over and over and over again. Let's go back here again. Let's go down to, see, some of these are, all right, how to create string art. All right, so this was a video where I showed how to create string art flowers. And it's only 2 minutes long. And again, we have a little bit of drop off at the beginning as people try to figure out whether this is what they're interested in. And then most of the people hang in there and until they get to the end where, at this point they've already seen how the process works, so they don't need to watch. So if you keep a process going until the end, people will tend to watch it until the end as long as all of those parts are things that they need to watch to learn all the details. And then if I went at this point and then did another one, it would be a whole bunch of drop off at this point because they'd already seen one and seen how it went. And there's always going to be some people who are interested in seeing more details. But for the people who just wanted to see how this works, they would have gotten what they needed out of this section here. It's fine to have a longer video, and that's part of why I get concerned about people who are too obsessed about the average percentage viewed, because it's perfectly fine to have a longer video where you show flower after flower and try it with different colors and different techniques and so on. And you're going to get fall off, and that's perfectly fine because some people watch one portion of it and that's enough for them, and some people will enjoy the entire process. Some of these are screen slideshows. So I suppose let's take a look at this slideshow. This is a steampunk calendar. This is just a slideshow, and let me switch it to lifetime. A slideshow of a bunch of cyanotype images. So there's some people who watched them for 30 seconds and then said, okay, I've seen enough cyanotype images. And then there's other people who watched them, 10 to 20% who watched all the way through to see all 12 slideshow images. And is it bad that some people didn't watch all the way through? No. I'm happy that some people watched all the way through, and I'm happy that some people watched a couple of them and enjoyed it. So to look at this and say only 25% of the video was watched is not correct at all. What this is saying is that some people dropped off at the beginning and some people stuck to the end, and this graph shows a much better accurate representation of what that traffic is. And again, because this is short, maybe if I went on for 2 hours, then I'd only get a hardcore set of crew that stuck around for 2 hours watching slideshows of videos. But then this again skews us to, well, maybe all videos should be under 10 seconds long where people are watching initially. And that's how we get sites like YouTube and Instagram and Facebook doing all of these super short videos, which certainly have a purpose. But if you're trying to do something a little more artistic and show exactly how to do something, it's a lot harder to do that in 10 seconds or 15 seconds. So there's a place for everything. Sometimes it's fun to watch just 10 seconds of a time lapse for mandalas, and sometimes it's good to see the whole full video. So here, if we take a look at this one, and we look at since uploaded. So this is a video showing how to make mandalas in Photoshop, and I do show how to do a couple of them. So there's people who watched it at the beginning and got the basics of it and said, okay, I'm done, I'm going to go make my own now. And then there's other people who happily watched all the rest of them. And I'm very content to have a portion of them keep watching till the end to see all the different iterations. And it could be that people are rewatching this, so they rewatch it 5 or 6 times. And after the second or third time, they just need to watch the beginning to get a sense of how to get started again. And they don't need all the rest of the filler information again, which is also perfectly fine. So, keep an eye on those kinds of ideas when you're working through your videos. All right, so here, let's look at the actual analytics tab over here on the left. And again, we're going to look at the lifetime. All right, so you can see it was low in the beginning when I started because I really wasn't putting up that many videos. And then I started putting up a lot more videos. Well, I mean, a lot more. I still only have like 100 videos, so it's not a ton more. But I did start putting up more videos. So then the more videos you put up, the more traffic you tend to get. Now I will say that in general, but here I'll open another window here. You can't just toss up all sorts of videos and assume that you will get all sorts of traffic as a result. I did a section, let me go to videos. I did a section where I did a bunch of spirograph videos because I love spirographs, and some of them still have no views. Now granted, I haven't really promoted these heavily because it was just a fun project that I went through. But just because you dump bunches of videos onto YouTube does not necessarily mean that you will get views or any help from them. So, I have some of here, and these are only, what, like 33 seconds or 27 seconds. So it's not like I invested a ton of time in making these. They were a fun project that I wanted to do. But they don't necessarily guarantee getting you lots and lots of traffic on those. But on the other hand, you could do just a single video, like how to use Cafe Press, which is a site that makes mugs and t-shirts and that sort of stuff for artists and illustrators, and that got 330 views without any effort at all. So, and right before that I did a video on doing a snake and fish pen and ink watercolor, and that was a full hour long, I think. Let's see if yeah, that was an hour long video that I did to do this pen and ink watercolor, and it's only had 6 views. So about the same amount of time investment, but far more people found this one useful to them, and far less people were interested in this specific drawing of a mouse on a chair plus a mouse in a hammock. So if you're an artist, you have to think about those kinds of things, or a dance instructor or whatever kind of thing that you're doing. If you're doing something that has a personal touch to it, then someone could or could not be interested in this specific kind of drawing of a space alien UFO, but lots of people could be interested in how to use Cafe Press for doing artist and illustration kinds of things. So if you're looking just to get more traffic to get your channel going, you want to think as global as possible, to think of things that lots of people could find useful, and then transition into a particular drawing or something where only a smaller portion of people could find that useful. So for example, I did a watercolor test with Royal and Langnickel tube watercolors, and that got 241 views because lots of people are interested in seeing how those colors lay out because they use those colors. But then if I do a mouse and a Swiss cheese moon, far fewer people are going to be interested in painting that one specific drawing. All right, hopefully that makes sense. So let's go back over here. All right, so in fact, there's the, well, here, let's take a look at it while we've got it here. So again, we have a drop-off as people realize that they are or are not interested in how I'm doing my palette test, and that is completely fine. And then we have a portion of people who watch through the end, and there could be some people who didn't care to watch me paint each of the cubes and just zip to the end to watch the ending part, and it doesn't reflect well in here with the way that YouTube handles their statistics, to look at the people who just jump to the end to be able to see what the end result is. But I think you get a sense here that, some people wanted to see the beginning to see what we were aiming for, and then some people actually wanted to see the process of it, of me painting each little square. All right, so again, let's go to the full analytics for this. All right, so for the lifetime. So you can see that I was doing only a couple videos at the beginning, and then I started adding more videos, and as I added the more videos in, and especially the crayon resist turtle gets a lot of traffic. So, maybe when I paint the watercolor crayon resist turtle and I see that gets a lot of traffic, I say, oh, maybe there's a market out there for people looking for crayon wax resist things, and I start making more of those. Or maybe I say people like watercolor sea turtles and I start making more versions of those. So you can certainly do that if you see a particular kind of topic gets attention from people. That's not the way that I tend to approach art. I like to do art of what I'm interested in and not what will necessarily just draw in eyeballs. So I do more eclectic kinds of things, and that makes me happy. But if you're after building up your YouTube channel, then definitely watch and see, all right, I made something on this particular topic and that did well, so I should do related things to get in more people who are interested in that topic area. All right, so we see the stats in here. And again, the ones that are more generic, like how to do cyanotype artwork in general, how to use this Letraset foil transfer system. The only one in here that's more specific is about the sea turtle. And just in general, people love sea turtles. So that's the topic that people would really like. But if I scroll down here to the bottom for something, then we get down here to my blue dragon. Far fewer people are interested in that particular blue dragon or in this particular flaming eyeball I painted or so on. So you're just going to find that as an artist, that there will be some things that more people are interested in, some things that less people are interested in. But my theory is to put out a variety of items because you reach different markets with your different kinds of things that you're posting. And like my unboxing for the tablet, people who are always interested in unboxing to see what comes in this set and to try to decide whether they want to buy it or not. All right, so again, you could look at this average percentage viewed and you could get skewed about what percentage, what the value of this is because you think only 16% of people liked it, or like this one here, how to use CafePress. It says average percentage viewed is 12%, and you might say, oh, that's not something that I should even bother with. But it actually is let's just do lifetime. Oh, hold on. In any case, it's actually a very well appreciated video, and it gets a lot of views, and people tend to watch through it. There's a drop off at the beginning, but then people tend to watch through it to see how to use CafePress and what value it offers to an artist. All right, so hopefully this has given you some information on how analytics tends to work for artistic types, for how-to videos that are less cut and dry, we'll say, and have far more interpretation, whether people are going to want to follow them along. So it's a lot different than how to change a toner in a printer or something like that, which is just step by step and people need to do it and then they get through it. With artist kinds of things like dance moves or other things, people are far pickier, we'll say, about what it looks like and what the video's like and what the descriptions are like and everything else because they're looking for a particular kind of artistic end result. So you just have to accept that in the way that you look at the statistics and the way that you accept the amount of drop off before people get into it and the amount of time that they stay with it before they decide that they get the gist of it and they'll go and actually do it for themselves. So ask if you have any questions. I am happy to help. I actively, as you see, do artistic videos all the time, so if there's a particular kind of thing you're interested in, let me know and I'm happy to make a new video that goes into something in more detail. And have a great week.